Hello and welcome back to my channel. As you know, I am Caroline, the original Dragon Lady. Something a bit different for you today. You may or may not know, if you've read my book or not, How to Live with Dragons, that I'm a bit of an avid journaler, which is how the book and my deck got created. But actually what I want to talk about today is, I did some notes on this, so bear with me because I need to look at them, about fear and how we like to avoid it as much as anything. So let me just find the right part. I thought I had the right part of my notebook and I don't, so bear with me just a moment. And how we go into justification and how we like to avoid all of these things. And you may also know that some of the work that I've done over the years is all around abundance. So how do dragons fear, abundance and journaling all come together? I know, it all seems a bit random, doesn't it? So bear with me. If you can bear to hang on in here, bear with me and all will be revealed. It's a bit of a convoluted one and it may be a bit meandering. So, you know, I'm not the concisest of people, am I? So the reason this came up was something's been niggling me for a few days. And something has sort of irked me. And being the human doings that we are, we don't like these feelings. We avoid them like the plague. When we start to feel irritated or guilt or shame or embarrassment or jealousy, any of those kind of feelings, we quite often run for the hills, don't we? We quite often, is my hair all sticking up? Oh no, oh wait, oh dear. I look like I've got antennae. God's sake. I can just catch you, see it on the camera. Oh my goodness. Ever real here. Anyway, so when we have these feelings, these uncomfortable type feelings, we do two or three things. We go into full-on avoidance. So we head for our, whatever our go-to habit is, chocolate, alcohol, fags, cake, whatever it is we go to avoid that feeling. So take us out and away from this uncomfortable feeling. And as I'm talking, I can feel this sort of, it sort of gets like a tightness sort of in the chest, or the and the sort of solar plexus or the heart sort of constricts. So we have a physical type feeling as well. And this can be all kinds of, from sort of quite mild to really, really strong, depending on how intense the feeling is or the emotion is that we're talking about. So when we try to go into avoiding something, we head for whatever our go-to is, bag of sweets, whatever, crisps. So commonly it's eating, drinking, smoking. So when these feelings and thoughts come up, and they come up together, and it's quite difficult to work out whether it's thought or feeling first. They sort of come like milliseconds, thousands of milliseconds, whatever it is, apart, like teeny weeny. And you'll probably never actually get to which comes first, thought or feeling. And it's often accompanied with a physical sensation in the body. So what I'm talking about is having awareness of how you feel, and catching those thoughts or feelings as they arrive, and catching whatever your avoidance is, whatever your head to is, to avoid the said feeling. So what I want to share with you is we actually all have a choice about how we feel. And we can act upon that and start projecting and being stroppy and blaming others and whatever, or we can actually go, actually, what's going on here? What am I really feeling? And my guides, particularly the dragons, have taught me so much about this. They've guided me all the way, whether they've taken me to learn something or to research something, or they've given it to me directly. So it's been years and years of work. This is sort of 20 odd years of work that I've learned and discovered, and I've incorporated into my own life. And so what I've discovered is we can act on the guidance that we're given. We can procrastinate. And with this particular thing that's come up for me over the last few days is I've actually been choosing to procrastinate, and then I ended up journaling about it, hence this video this morning, because it's gone ding 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 in my mind. And what I found is that what stops us in our life from moving forward, apart from all the avoidance stuff, is fear. But you see, fear and avoidance go hand in hand. We don't like the feeling. It makes us uncomfortable. We don't want to look at it because it makes us feel icky. And that, in effect, and I can feel it again all in this area, is all based in fear. Now, you can think, Caroline, what the hell are you talking about? You're talking utter crap. Well, that's fine. You're not ready to hear it. Or you can stay with me and see how uncomfortable this is making you feel, and maybe do some of the work. So a lot of our fear is stuck in our old sort of lizard brain, if you like. It's, you know, back from caveman times and keeping us safe from the saber-toothed tiger. But it's also in our subconscious. It's held within our subconscious to keep us safe. However, another layer to that is programming. And the programming is in our subconscious. And this will be peers, society, friends, family, school, and ancestral. Okay. And in effect, what all of these things are blocks. They are blocks to the life that you really want for you. But what's stopping you? What's stopping you embracing and living your best life? You can wrap it up any way you want. Lack of money, lack of time, lack of resources, lack of opportunity, lack of this, lack of that, lack of something else. That in itself is lack of consciousness. But where does lack of consciousness come from? Nuts and bolts, fear. That you have blocks around what you wish to achieve. Okay? And blocks really cripple us. And what I've discovered over the last couple of years is our relationship with money. And there's a lady called Eloise Burton talks about this, and she's on my channel. There's an interview with her I did on my channel. You can go and find that. And she talks about our relationship with money is a direct mirror, if you like, or reflection of our relationship with ourselves. So that's a really interesting concept. So if you think about that lack, are you using lack of money, time, resources as an excuse? Or is it actually something else? Is there a fear in there that's stopping you? And fear and blocks, money or otherwise, keeps us stuck in these old, familiar patterns, wherever they've come from, we, as human doings, we naturally don't embrace change, because change is threatening, change is unsafe, change is hard, or we perceive it to be hard, and change is the unknown. If you do what you've always done, you're going to have what you've always had. So you can stay in that furrow you've carved out for yourself forever going forward. So fear actually stops us breathing into our life. But we don't often see it as fear. This is what's really interesting. We don't recognize it for what it is. We attribute it to all kinds of things, all kinds of names, labels. It can be anxiety and stress. We can then become projectors and blame others for our fear. Anger and irritation's a classic one that we blame others for because they've offended us in some way, or they've done something to us in some way. And there are points where actually those, people behaving in a particular way is not appropriate. However, when that anger is held in a different vessel, if you like, we then need to look at ourselves, because in the former one, our anger is saying, actually, your behavior wasn't appropriate and I don't like that. But there comes the point where actually you've got to take responsibility for that anger, that irritation, that anxiety, that stress. And when they surface, or somebody's upset us in some way, we can, and frequently do, project that pain that we're feeling, particularly the anger, frustration, irritation, that type of feeling, we project it onto others. And try and, it's not gaslighting in that kind of way, but it's, we're trying to make them blame them for how we're feeling. And that isn't always fair, nor is it right. And this is where personal responsibility comes in. But also awareness is the key. The big word here is awareness. Awareness of what you're feeling and how you're behaving. And that's really tricky. If you're in this maelstrom of emotion that's really triggering you and setting you off, you'll go "Wah!" at whoever, or you're shrinking in the corner because something's really upset you. Having awareness around yourself is key to change. So, to be honest, fear, particularly, we're talking about fear in this particular video, doubles as uncertainty. Because all the other things I've spoken about, one way or another, lead back to fear at varying degrees. Are you with me so far? Because it's quite a convoluted one, this. So if we are looking at fear and how it doubles up as uncertainty, feeling unsafe, insecure, all of these things make us feel uncomfortable. And the emotions or the feelings and the physical sensation that accompanies it can be quite confusing, because there's like lots of layers to them. And what starts as one thing actually ends up being something else. So it's quite complex. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. So when we have this uncomfortable feeling, whatever it is, anxiety, stress, whatever, we don't like it. Hello, avoidance. Okay. So when we are faced with this avoidance, quite often, or when we've been triggered with something, we'll quite often lash out. And this is really interesting. And this is what's come from my journaling this morning. I hadn't actually put these together until this morning, which is why I'm doing this video. So when we are triggered and we're feeling really uncomfortable, really unsafe, whatever the term is, whatever is going on for you, and in that moment, we can lash out verbally or physically. Of course, lashing out is our fight response. We run for the hills to we lash out to protect ourselves. Of course, our next one is flight. So we run for the hills. Anything to avoid the danger of what we're seeing or what we're feeling. Because this uncomfortable feeling is dangerous. Whether it's, you know, anger, frustration, shame, guilt, embarrassment, whatever. It's a feeling of being unsafe here in the body, in the heart, in the soul, however you want to think about it. Okay. So anger kicks in our fight response. Our flight response is we run for the hills and we go into avoidance. Hello, bag of crisps, bottle of wine, bar of chocolate. Okay, anything to avoid that feeling. Then, of course, we have freeze. Oh my God, what do I do? And we end up in this complete point of indecision. We don't know. We're like the rabbit in the headlights. We can't make a decision. We don't know what to do. I've done all of those. Can you tell? So sometimes we feel like, you know, we're fighting with ourselves. So the flight becomes projection and blame. It's so-and-so's fault that I feel like this, that this happened, that happened, and so on. So we need to look below the surface. We need to actually ask ourselves some really difficult, uncomfortable questions. And yes, you're going to get shitty. Yes, you're going to get cross. Yes, you're going to get bullshit. However, when we start poking at those questions and we probe at the underlying patterns or behaviours, and this does take great courage to do so, we actually learn about ourselves. Now, of course, you can skim across the surface and not go beneath. You do what you've got to do for you. However, as I said earlier, if you do what you've always done, you'll have what you always have. So what I'm talking about here is self-reflection. It's actually taking time out of your day, sitting with yourself and reflecting upon why you behaved in a particular way. So what the trigger was, what the feeling was. And when you're really honest with that and you start asking questions, well, what's that about? Why did that happen? Why did I react in that way? What's that response about? And you start asking those kind of questions, and it'll be different for each of you. You will then begin to uncover layers. And it's this, you know, I've been at this work for over 20 years and I'm still uncovering stuff. I'm thinking, Jesus, again? But what happens, you just go deeper and you just have a deeper understanding of yourself. And obviously all the time you're growing, you're learning, you're expanding. So it's about self-reflection and journaling. Acknowledging, this doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge, that you skim over that you were angry. You don't avoid being angry. You don't avoid that somebody was bloody rude to you or was, verbally attacked you for no reason or whatever. You don't avoid that stuff. But you look at what that was about, and you're really honest, and you try and view it from all angles, not to justify their actions, but so you're not justifying your behavior as well, because you're trying to be honest with yourself about what was below your response, your reaction. And then, so was that fear, or was that something else? And frequently it will come back to fear. So doing this self-reflection does take a great deal of courage. Now, what I've come to understand is that actually just thinking this stuff doesn't hold water or doesn't create lasting change. What does create lasting change is actually journaling about it, because there's something to do with the way our brain and our body work together, and our spiritual connection and our higher self. When you actually write this stuff down, there's some kind of alchemical change takes place within the body. And it's really fascinating. I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this for over 20 years. And obviously, over the years, my understanding I've learned and my practice has deepened with my journaling. So what's I'd say to you is, when those questions come up and they make you feel uncomfortable, write down what you're feeling, how you're feeling uncomfortable. We are great at stalling and avoiding resistance. I talk about this in my 30-day meditation challenge, how the resistance surfaces at points. And it's the same when you're doing any kind of development work, any kind of growth work. We find that we procrastinate, we stall, we avoid. It plagues our life. We're human. It's what happens to us. So the best way to reflect on what you're feeling and clearing blocks is journaling. Meditation is also a great help, but journaling has been the most powerful thing I've found over the years, to really get down to the nitty-gritty and look at me, so i.e. looking at you, warts and all. That real honesty about what you're feeling. Nobody else is to read your journal. So if you've done anything like The Artist's Way with the Julia Cameron course, which is a 12-week course, it's actually a book called The Artist's Way. If any of you have done that, you'll be familiar with journaling, which is where my journaling journey started years ago. So nobody else is to read your journal. It is yours and yours alone, okay? Because you can be really honest about everything on the page. You can shout, scream, rant, rave, and celebrate your wins as well. And that reflection is much easier to do when it's on the page. And it'll be rambling, it'll go in all kinds of directions and rabbit holes. But great awareness will surface for you. And with the awareness comes healing. And with the healing comes freedom in all kinds of levels, in ways you wouldn't even expect. So when you're feeling a bit niggly and a bit blah about life and something's pissed you off, you know what? Journal on it, reflect upon it. What's it really about? What's really going on? Is it them? Is it me? Was my response justified? Was my reaction justified? Could I have done something different? You know, what's the feeling that came with that? And that feeling was X, Y, Z. Well, why did I feel like that? And all those kind of questions you ask yourself and journal away. And you may get your dragons come in, your angels, your guides, your higher self, your loved ones, whatever. Anything and everything is possible on the page. So do not set any limitations. And you'd be amazed at what will come through for you. It's how all my dragon courses are written. It's how the cards got created. All through meditation and journaling. And none of that stuff would now be available for you guys to use and work with if I didn't do my work and also journal to be able to share it with you. So I think that's really all I've got to say on that. It is a bit of a journey, and I'm sort of thinking about maybe doing a workshop around this. I do mentoring around this, personal mentoring for growth and healing and so on. But I'm sort of wondering about maybe doing a workshop around this. So I'll leave you to ponder, and I'm sure it may have triggered some of you. I hope it has, in the nicest possible way, and hopefully it'll help kickstart your journey to growth, prosperity, to healing, and to a more balanced life. So until next time, big love from me and Dragon HQ, and I'll see you in the next video.